Joining me now to discuss this standoff is Arizona Congressman and producer of the documentary Alien Invasion, Representative Andy Biggs. Congressman, welcome. It's great to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Jen. Thanks.
So Governor Ducey, he's also sued the federal government over their dereliction of duty. I mean, is the administration admitting guilt here by calling his actions trespassing while claiming that illegals unlawfully crossing into this country is somehow not?
Yeah, I mean, you find the duplicity of the Biden administration, Jen, when you see this. You've been down to the border, and we've seen this, and what we know happens is this administration doesn't want any impediment to the wide open illegal migration that is happening across that border. And so I tip my hat to Governor Ducey, Abbott, and DeSantis, who are fighting this fight so well right now. And you know what? This administration, by threatening these three gentlemen, these three governors, has basically said, we absolutely, it is our policy to open this border up to anybody and everybody.
So you look back at this last year here, and in 2022, you've had at least 853 migrants known to have died crossing into the United States. But sources inside CBP have told Breitbart that the numbers far exceed those official reports. And even so, in less than 2 years, the Biden administration has officially seen more deaths on the border than during the entire Trump era. So what can a Republican Congress do to secure the border with Biden still, unfortunately, in the White House?
Well, what we're going to have to do is use the budget bills to leverage finishing the fence, making sure the CBP has the finances they need to make sure that this administration has to reinstate, say, the Remain in Mexico policy or implement fully the Title 42 policy. And then the other aspect, too, is we need to hold people accountable, like Secretary Mayorkas, who has basically led the charge to open up our border. And I would say we need to re-implement something called the Holman Rule, which is a rule that's been around for 100 years, and it has been put in discard literally for probably, I don't know how many years, many years, but bring it back so we can hold specific bureaucrats accountable for failure to enforce the law, which is what's happening here. And so, Jen, there are things we can do. It just takes great leadership when we get there, and it takes the will to do it. And I can tell you, I'm going to keep pushing for that.
I know you will. And, you know, speaking of great leadership, I think in about 8 days, you're going to have a new elected governor in Kari Lake, who said she will declare an invasion at the southern border on her first day in office. Tell us about what difference that's going to mean for Arizonans in fighting this border crisis.
Well, she's going to use the United States Constitution to declare an invasion, and she'll also declare an emergency in the state. That gives her some extra executive powers and allows the police power of the executive branch to go down and actually try to enforce some of the federal laws, but mostly the state laws, which is why I introduced a piece of legislation that said a state can actually enforce federal immigration laws. So I think Kari Lake's going to be a governor that actually takes action on this in a way that you'll see our police powers, our police officers go down there. And one of the things that we have to do in Congress is make sure that the federal government does not, that this Department of Homeland Security does not go down there and try to arrest our own state police officers for trying to enforce the laws to protect Arizona's citizens.
And, you know, what the police officers are also dealing with is the drugs that are coming through the southern border. Last week alone in Buckeye, Arizona, 400,000 fentanyl pills confiscated in a traffic stop there. You know, this is something that's happening throughout the country. You know, it's not just Arizona, but we're seeing these drugs show up in every state. So, I mean, how do we end this drug trafficking? I mean, this is a massive problem. The administration is turning a blind eye to it. Your final thoughts? I got about a minute left.
Well, we've had 2 million pills seized in the last 3 or 4 weeks in Arizona. And the way you stop it is you enforce the law. And this administration has chosen not to enforce the law. That means you shut down the border because what you're seeing is coming through the ports of entry. You have to stop it between ports of entry as well. And this administration is not doing anything to facilitate our great customs and our Border Patrol agents who are doing their best to interdict all of this. By the way, 107,000 people, opioid overdose deaths last year. This administration has not said a peep about it. And that's how we stop it, is just shut down that border where we need to.
Yeah, blood on their hands. Congressman Andy Biggs, always a pleasure having you here. Thanks for being here tonight.
My pleasure, Jen. Thank you.